Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. So we're gonna make Yip Yips today as per the picture that you've seen. So we're just gonna jump right into this. I'm gonna be using a 6.5 millimeter hook, which is a K, I believe. And I'm gonna be using a 4-weight worsted. I designed this using a worsted weight yarn. So if you don't have worsted, it's probably gonna be smaller than what it would be when I first designed it. But this calls for a 5 millimeter, but I am using a 6.5. So go up in hook size, whatever you're using and whatever hook it calls for, go up in hook size. So let's jump right into this. We're going to start with a magic ring. And we automatically do our chain 1 if you do it like me. So put 6 single crochets inside this ring. You're going to need a stitch marker. Got mine. Your first round is going to be 2 single crochets in each stitch. So we're not slip stitching, we're not chaining 2, we're building this in amigurumi style. So that's your first one, and that's where the stitch marker goes. And then I'm going to put number 2 in that same space. So 2 single crochets in each stitch. You should have a total of 12. So you can pull your middle closed. Your next round is going to be 1 single crochet and an increase. That's 1 single crochet. And then your next stitch gets the increase of 2 single crochets in each space. And repeat. 1 single crochet and an increase. 2 single crochets in the same space. All the way around, and at the end of it you should have 18 stitches. So to keep this as flat as possible, we're just going to keep doing increases. We're not going to do 1 single crochet in each stitch or anything, just constant increases. Your next round is going to be 2 single crochets and an increase. If I sound funny, it's because I've been fighting a cold. That's number 1 with your marker. That's number 2, and then your increase of 2 single crochets in the same stitch. And repeat. 1, 1, 2, 1, 1, 2 all the way around. And at the end you should have 24 stitches. So you should be ending at your marker with your 2 single crochets. If not, you've done something wrong. But it doesn't necessarily mean you don't have 24 stitches either. So as long as you have 24 stitches. So your next round is going to be 3 single crochets and an increase. That's number 1, 2, and 3. And then your increase of 2 single crochets in the same space. Your next round is going to be 4 single crochets and an increase. So that's number 1. That's 4 single crochets and then your increase. So I think you guys understand how we're doing the increases. I'm going to put up my screen, and my screen is going to literally take you to the end of the increases, which is 7 single crochets and an increase. I'll put all my counts up, and I'll see you guys on the other side. So this is what you should have, and you should have 54 stitches around. So our next round, we're going to be putting 1 single crochet in each of those 54 stitches, but we're going to be doing it in the back loop only. But you don't have to turn this over or anything. Your back loops are right there, standing up, looking right at you, easy peasy. And these are your front loops. So you're going to go into the back loop only, once around, 54 stitches. Don't worry about if it stretches out. I'll show you in a sec. Let me put my marker in. So if it stretches out like that, don't worry about it. It will return to its former shape. It won't stay stretched out. So don't worry about pulling up on your stitches or anything. So 1 single crochet, each stitch around, 54 stitches, back loop only. I'll put it up on my screen and I will see you on the other side. So this is what you should have. It should be rolling up just a titch. So before we continue, so if this is going to be like a little tote thing you hang on your kid's wall and stuff, they're going to be sticking their hands in there. So we're going to need to do something with this guy before we continue, because the next few rows is, I mean, you can still get to it obviously, but before we start the next big part of this, so tie a wee little knot. But instead of just cutting it off, I want you to weave this in, because you don't want any of this getting tangled around your kid's fingers, cutting off circulation or anything. It's just a lot safer to do when you're making something for children, no matter the age. It can still happen and it can still not be good. So it's pretty tight in here, so I think just going around a few times is probably perfectly fine. And then cut it down, right down. So now that's taken care of. So we did back loops only, and I'll tell you why. Doing the back loops only exposes all these front loops. These guys. So all these guys, when the project is done, is what we're going to use for the tassels at the bottom. So that's why we just did that. So if you decided to not do this part and not think it's going to make a difference, you might want to rethink it, because if you use the full stitch, now you have nothing to put your tassels into. So we need these front stitch, front loops exposed for the tassels at the end of the project. So, and I just repeated myself. So for the next 10 rows, you're just going to do 1 single crochet in each stitch, the full stitch, not the back loop, just the full stitch. 1 single crochet in each stitch for 10 rows. And I will see you on the other side. So this is what you should have. So now we got to make the hole, the big gaping mouth hole. So we're going to do 40 single crochets, and then we're going to chain one and turn. So 40 single crochets. That's number one, your marker. So that's my 40 stitches. So instead of counting all of this to make sure it's 40, just count to here to make sure you got 14. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12. And I did one too many extra. That's 14. So now I know I have 40 stitches because we had 54. So it's just easier to count to make sure you have 14 to your marker. So we're going to chain one. And we're going to turn. So we are going to start instantly with decreases. So these first two stitches you're going to single crochet together. So you're going to see it written as SC2 tog, and that just means it's a decrease. So you go into your first stitch, you pull up a loop, go into your second stitch, pull up a loop, and then you pull through all three of those loops. So that's how you've SC2 togged or decreased the first two stitches. So I'm going to be writing it as SC2 tog, which just stands for single crochet two together. So now you want to do 36 stitches back around, which should take you near your marker. So that's my 36. So I've got one stitch there and then where my marker is. So the marker needs to come out because we don't really need it right now. And then these two stitches get a decrease. Chain one, turn your work. So now we're going to decrease the first two again. And now you're going to do 34 single crochets. So that's my 34 stitches, and now I'm going to single crochet these last two together. Chain one, turn your work. Single crochet the first two together. And now you're going to do 32 single crochets. So that's my 32, and I'm going to decrease the last two stitches together. Chain one, turn your work. So you're going to decrease the first two stitches, and now you're going to do 30 single crochets. So we're dropping down 2 stitches each time because we're single crocheting these two together on each end. So I'm back around and I'm going to single crochet these two together. So this is what we're going to be doing. Chain one, turn your work. We're going to do this all the way till we do 14 single crochets. So right now we're at 30. So I'm going to start putting on my screen the next 2 rows just to make the video go a little quicker, since I think you get the idea of what we're doing. We're single crocheting 2 together on these 2 and these 2 on either end. Every time, even a chain one and turn, you're going to do it again. So we're going to do it again. single crochet these two together, and then for your first round I want you to do 28 single crochets. Come back, single crochet two together. I'm going to put this on my screen, no fear. Chain one and turn, and then do single crochet two together, 26. So we're just going to try to make this go a little bit faster, and I'll see you after your 2 rows is done. So I'm just finished my chain one and turn for my 26 single crochets. So this one here, the next 2, so this will be single crochet 2 together, and this one will be 24 single crochets, and then single crochet. I'm trying to get my computer to work. 24 single crochets, single crochet 2 together, chain 1, turn, and then 22 single crochets, chain 1 and turn. So I'll meet you back after your next 2 rows. So my chain 1 and turn, your next 2 rounds is going to be 20 single crochets and 18 single crochets, doing your single crochets together. That's my 20. If you're struggling to see where your stitches are, just turn it over like that. You can see these V shapes. Those are 2 stitches right there. So if you're struggling to find them. And that's my 18, and then I'm going to single crochet these 2 together. Chain 1 and turn. So your next 2 rows is going to be 16 and 14. So single crochet these 2 together. 16 single crochets. Just like that. So this is what it should look like. I love how this makes this little artifact on the back. I love how that changes it like that. I could only find knitting patterns for this Yip Yip, so I had to make up my own, and I think it turned out really, really good, and I'm so pleased with it that I even put it up in my Etsy shop if you're looking for it. I will put the link right down here somewhere. So now that we're done that, down this whole side where we did decreases, there's no stitches to follow, so we need to create stitches down the side here. So first of all, I want you to chain 1 before we start this process, and basically at the end of every row you're going to be able to put 2. So this is a row, I could put 1 there and 1 there. This row I could probably stick 1 in there and stick 1 in there, wherever you can get your hook in, but I need you to do 16 stitches down to here. So wherever you can get your hook in. Now don't worry about this one because you're already in it. So try to do it spaced evenly anyway. Even if you have to share a space with 2 stitches, it's fine, as long as there's 16. Because I'm at 10 right now and I'm running out of room fast. So I'm going to share a space. So I'm going to put 2 in this last space. That gives me my 16 stitches. And you're going to have to put 16 stitches up the other side too. So these stitches down here we just follow, and don't forget this guy right here on the corner, there's a stitch there. So grab him too. Don't forget this corner. That gives me 32. And now I need to do 16 back up. So that's 16 back up. So I should be 32 and 32, 64. 64 stitches. I already have stitches along here, so we're going to put a stitch marker back in at this point. So this is stitch number 1 with our marker. I have this chipped nail that keeps getting stuck on everything. So number 1 with our marker, we are going to do 2 single crochets and a decrease. We're going to do that 13 times because it didn't work out evenly for some reason. So that's number 1 with the marker. Number 2, and then a decrease is exactly what we've been doing, using these 2 stitches, single crocheting 2 together, and then repeat. 1, 2, decrease. So do that all the way around. You don't exactly have to count, but when you get back up to your marker, you're probably going to have one more stitch that you need to just do. It's not going to be a complete sequence. Okay, so back to my marker. I have 1 single crochet left. So now we have to make, sorry, I'm talking about a stitch marker in my mouth. So now we have to make the hook that you're going to hang this guy with. So I'm going to show you how I figured that out. So you've got 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14 along the top. So to get your hanger in the middle, you need to do 6 single crochets, so now I just chained 14. If you don't think that's long enough, then you don't have to do that. So that's my 14. I'm going to skip 1 and I'm going to come back down into here. And I'm going to do 6 single crochets. So I'm going to move my marker just because that kind of screws everything up. And 6. So on my 6th stitch, that's where my marker is going to go now. So now we have our little hanger. And just make sure, because I don't know if your counts are going to be the same as mine or what's going on, but just make sure that when you lay it down the way it's supposed to be, that you're in the middle. Or you can lay it down this way. Make sure you're in the middle. Anyway, now all we're going to do is 1 single crochet all the way around. I will show you what to do when we get to this guy. So if I fade out, I'll fade back in when we get to the hanger. So I'm at 40 stitches for my count so far. I still got to get over to my marker, but I stopped just at, or before, I've got one more stitch before the handle, so I'm going to go 41. I'm going to pull this down. I'm going to completely skip across to this stitch right there. You're probably going to have to pull your work out. And I'm going to make my single crochet, so that's 42. And then back to my marker. So 47. And then that's what it ends up looking like. So your next round is going to be 1 single crochet and a decrease. Just about done. Then we get to do the eyeballs. So that's 1 single crochet and then your decrease. And repeat. 1 single crochet and decrease all the way around. So when you get back around here, you've got stitches you can decrease into. Might seem awkward, even that one in the middle. So your final round is just going to be 1 single crochet in each stitch. And then we can fasten off, get to the eyeballs. So I am finished with that part anyway. So I'm going to go into my next stitch. I'm going to slip stitch and I'm going to fasten off. So you don't need a sewing tail, you just need a weaving tail. I'm going to come through my next stitch before I weave. I always do that. It just helps pull that knot right down. So it's pretty tight in there. So I'm going to try to pull that the best I can to kind of keep a good shape. I wiggle my way back up here. This isn't super duper important. It's not like anyone's going to be able to pull on anything to undo it. So, just about done. There. This is what it should look like at this point. So, we'll move on to eyeballs. And get your pipe cleaners ready. Alright, so I got some white. I've got 14mm safety eyes. And you're also going to need some blue pipe cleaners. Well, one anyway. One pipe cleaner. So I've got that too. So I'm using a 4.5 millimeter, which I'm not sure if I just said that. I'm still fighting this cold, guys, so I might be a little loopy. So we're going to start with a magic ring. And you're going to make 6 single crochets inside this ring. Oh, and by the way, I'm still using a worsted weight yarn. I had stitch marker. So again, amigurumi, because that's the style I prefer. Starting in the first stitch, you're going to do 2 single crochets in each of the stitches all the way around. So if you're using a marker, it goes in underneath, in the first stitch. So 2 single crochets in each stitch around for a total of 12. That's 12. Your next round is going to be 1 single crochet and an increase. That's 1 single crochet, and then your next stitch gets the increase of 2 single crochets in the same space. And repeat. Next round is going to be 1 single next 2 rounds are going to be 1 single crochet in each stitch. So you should have 18 stitches. So that is my 2 rounds. I just want to take care of this business before it drives me insane. Oh my god, I have 2 left hands today. So I'm just going to tie a wee little knot. I'm just going to cut it off, leaving a nubby. I don't know if that's what it's called. So you should have this little guy right here. We're going to start decreasing. I don't really think we need it any bigger than that. So we're going to do a 1 single crochet decrease. We're going to do that for 2 rows, the exact same thing. So if you wanted to work ahead. So that's 1 single crochet with your marker. Sorry, I'm getting ahead. 1 single crochet with your marker. And then your decrease is the same as SC2 tog. And repeat. 1 single crochet, decrease. All the way around, which shouldn't take you very long because it's just a little tiny eyeball. Actually, it's a big eyeball. I love these Yip Yips. This is I think the 4th one now I've made, and I'm gonna make more. They're just so great. You can put anything in them. I love them. I hate the Yip Yips on Sesame Street. Absolutely hated them. They were so annoying. So again, 1 single crochet decrease, and then we can put some stuffing in this and put our eyeball in it, in it. 1 single crochet and a decrease. I'm just going to sew the rest of it shut. Alrighty. You can fasten off. leave a sewing tail. You're going to need to sew this shut, and you're going to need to sew it to your Yip Yip. So you're going to need a little bit of a sewing tail. It doesn't have to be super duper long. So before we put any stuffing in it, we need to put an eyeball in it, on it, whichever. So get your 14 mil and your back. So stick this right down that hole. You're gonna have to force it open a little bit. Put your back on. And now we can stuff it. It does not take much to stuff this wee little guy. But you still need to make sure you're stuffing it so it's nice and round. And the back of your eye will get completely in the way. So at the end of it, you're gonna have to make sure this is still all straight, because it will get right in the way. But I mean, if his eye ends up looking like it's a cross eye or something, then I mean, you've created the perfect Yip Yip. Anyway, in my opinion. So I'm just pushing around with my finger, just trying to make sure it's nice and round around that eye, like that. And then we can sew the top shut, and then you can go ahead using the pattern I put on the screen to make your second eyeball. I'm gonna make my second eyeball. So before you do that, you're just gonna pick up one piece of yarn here. You don't need to pick up any more than that. You don't need to go deep and pick up two. It may look funny if you do that. So pick up one piece of yarn, you're going to go in this one, and you're going to go out that one. And again, in this one, out that one. And I got one more left, so I'm just going to go in, and then just pull. Close that sucker right up. You want to come across and make a wee little knot to hold this closed. Wiggle it back and forth. That tightens that knot right down. So before you sew it on, you need to come back through wherever and pop out on the side or the bottom side type deal, because that's how you're going to sew it to the top. So you're gonna sew it. Let me move all my stuff. Right up here where the handle is, you're gonna sew it like that to either side of your handle near the ridge of the thing. So that's what you're gonna do. And it's gonna be easy peasy because this is all nice and open. So make your other eyeball. I'll meet you back here and we'll get them sewn on and get this bad boy finished. Alright, got my eyeballs done. So, I'll start. Ooh, this almost looks like a Cookie Monster now that I'm looking at it. So I'm just going up and down, up and down. Probably going to go through the whole eye. So you can pull tight this way, but don't pull tight when you go back down, because it'll make your eyeball not round. But you want to go down as close as you can to the tail, so that just looks like a stitch. And then when you come back up in a different spot, you can pull tight this way. But if you do pull too tight, you can just pop it out. Pop it out like that. So once you are satisfied, don't forget to weave. Weaving is very important. So I'm just going to weave a couple of times back here. I don't want anybody pulling my eyeball off, so I'm going to tie a knot. Just in case. I'm going to cut off, leaving a nubby, and I'm going to poke that down into my eyeball. There we go. So if you have pulled too tight, just use whatever you can to make it round again. There we go. So, it's hard to show you on camera, but you can see your own. I think that eyeball could have been up in a different spot, but I can fix it later off camera. For now, take our pipe cleaner, and you're just going to shove it through the back of his head, wherever. You can go in and out wherever you want to go in and out. Stuck on something. Oh, there we go. So his, whatever these are supposed to be, are a little weird. They're shaped funny. So I don't know. You can shape them however you want to shape them. They're shaped super funny. So, something like that. That's how they're shaped. Yeah, that was not the easy part for me, was not how to shape these, so you can do whatever you want with that. So now the only thing left are your tassels. So I didn't put 1 or 2 in every single tassel. I put 2, 1, 2, 1. This uses a lot of yarn. I'm probably not going to do the whole thing with you, but you just need to get a book of some sort, wrap your yarn, and then just cut down the center, and you've got some tassels. So I'm just going to use this hook for now. Get one of your pieces. So I just went in to my front loop, which is what we did a long time ago. We worked in our back loops so that we could have the front loop. I've folded my yarn in half so it's even at the bottom. I'm just going to use my hook and I'm going to pull it through that loop, and then I'm going to go in like this, grab these 2 pieces, and then I'm going to pull it to make a knot. So that's how I'm going to do my tassels. So you can do 1 in each stitch, or you can do 2 in each stitch, or you can do 1 every other stitch and 2 in between. You can do whatever your little heart desires. All my other ones I did 2 1 2 1 2 1, but for this one I think I'm just going to do 1 because I don't think I needed as much as I thought I did, because once this is all done, looks pretty good. Just make sure you're pulling everything nice and tight. Here we go. Thanks for joining me, guys. I'll see you in the next video.